Guitarists are so obsessed with chords and how to switch between them that they usually forget that it's not about the speed, it's not about a special technique or a magic trick that's gonna fit to all situations, but it's rather about being very intentional with your movements at every moment of your playing. If you're new to the channel, I'm Beatrix. I'm a classical guitarist with a master's degree in music education. And over the past 20 years of playing guitar, I figured out a method that allows me to switch between chords much easier and smoother. And I'm going to break it down into 5 steps for you today. This is the method I teach to all my students, and this is also what I use as a professional player every single time I play. I believe that the single biggest reason why your music sounds choppy is because you look at music in a vertical way, right? You look at a chord. It's a bunch of notes on top of each other and under each other, and you arrange them, you play them all, and then you move to the next block of notes, you build them up again, and then you move to the next block of notes, you build them up again, and that's how you progress. But that's not how music works. Music moves linearly, music moves in a horizontal way, and this method I want to show you is going to allow you to look at music in a more linear way, allowing you to play smoother and you know, more of a flowing chord progressions. So who's this video is for? This is for you if you are a classical guitarist playing classical repertoire. This is for you if you are a fingerstyle guitarist playing basically any type of music, video game music arrangements, movie soundtrack arrangements, popular music arranged on steel string acoustic guitar or nylon string guitar, you name it. And it's also for you if you just want to be able to strum some chords while you're singing along maybe. So the first problem, as I said, is that when I say a chord, you immediately see a shape and you somehow want to connect those shapes, but shapes and fingerings are not music. So we need to stop looking at chords as shapes and start looking at the fingers as individual bearers of different melody voices. And once you realize that chords are not this rigid system, but you can move each of your fingers independently according to your goals, you will see how much easier it is to switch between chords in a nicer, smoother, connected way. And the next few tricks, I actually like to refer to them with the collective name of finger preparation. And this is what I'm going to break down into 5 steps for you. So the first step is that you need to be very confident about how you want to place your fingers, where the fingers have to be. I know I told you to stop thinking in a vertical way and start thinking horizontally, but until you're really sure about the shape of the chords and where your fingers are or where they have to be, we can't really talk about how to transition in between them, right? So a cool way to test how sure about the chord shapes is to pick the guitar and to pick a chord, I don't know, E minor. Probably I can't mess that up, hopefully. And start imagining, I start to visualize the shape of the chord in the air. Like I imagine the fingers are going to look something like this, and then as smoothly as possible I try to place this shape on the guitar. I'm not trying to find my way there while I'm here. I'm trying to imagine the chord and then putting it up from here. And it's gonna be the chord. I'm a little bit out of tune today, I'm sorry, new strings, but you can then, I don't know, maybe let's say I mess it up. It's not it, so I just drop my hand, I'm not starting to correct it, but I imagine what went wrong. Maybe I need to change my finger arrangement a little bit, and I try it again, and I give it another go. Whoops, it's still not E minor. Okay, let's start it again, let's visualize again. And this is how you can get to a point where you can confidently put it down. You can try it with another chord, I don't know, C major. That's a bit trickier. I imagine my fingers are going to look something like this. Yeah, okay, so I try to put it up. It's not it. because my second finger was too behind. This was good, this was good, this was behind. So next time when I let it go and I visualize, I extend my second finger just a bit more. Woo, this is it. That's good. So this is a simple and fun way to see how sure about your shapes and where you have to be. One key thing about this is that you're really not supposed to wiggle or rearrange your fingers once once you arrive on the chord. Once you put it down, that's it. You have to lean into your mistake, even if it's not the right chord. You have to just leave it there, because that's how you can analyze what went wrong. And then, I don't know, it went wrong. You see, okay, this is messed up. But then the next time you try it again from scratch, you have a chance to correct it. Wow, I really should tune this. The next one may be a little bit obvious for some of you, but I'm going to mention it anyway in case you guys need a friendly reminder that when you switch between chords, in many cases you actually have either a common string or a common finger between them that you can utilize to smoothen the transition out. So I don't know, when I want to go from E minor to A, I can use my third finger. I can use that to help and support the transition to be smoother. That was pretty neat. Similarly, if I want to show an example of common string, that was not that smooth, but I could make it work. Slightly better. See, so you can utilize these common fingers and strings. By the way, if you're finding this video helpful so far, I'd really appreciate if you'd leave a like and maybe a comment about what you're struggling with right now, so maybe I can cover it in an upcoming video. I mean, guitar-wise, obviously, just guitar problems, what you struggle with on the guitar. The next step is when we really start to utilize the finger independence we're talking about so far. And this is when you start to see that you don't have to lift you don't have to hold every single finger down for the same amount of time. And if you leave just one finger down a little bit longer, you can create this long-lasting ringing effect. So when I want to switch from here to here, I leave one finger down, the melody finger, the top finger, the one that holds the F sharp. I leave it down and I lift the two other fingers up a bit earlier and start stretching for the new chord. And I only release this one, I only lift this one up at the very last moment. The second I start to pick the new chord, I leave it down as long as possible. That's pretty nice. It's okay. So this basically means that you change chords in two steps. One step is moving all the fingers to the new chord, except for the melody finger, which you hold as long as possible. And the last step is to move the melody finger to the new chord too, right at the same time when you start playing the new chord. Step 4 already gave a little peek into what happens on step 5, which is, I believe, where the real magic happens. So now we understand that each of the fingers move independently, but this also means that for certain fingers it is going to be quicker or easier to get to their new position. Maybe they have a shorter route, but for other fingers it's going to be more difficult, it will take longer, it's going to be more tricky to get to their new position. So this is when stretching is becoming essential. When I want to switch from a chord to a new one, I try to make sure that I start stretching for the new one as soon as possible, especially with the trickiest finger, right? So maybe going back to this example, after this, moving the first finger is not that big of a deal, it's just a very small movement, but moving my fourth finger is going to take a long route. So I start to move with that as soon as I possibly can. When you play music, you always have to play on time, you always have a set amount of time to switch between chords, but you want to use that wisely, because if your movement is too sudden, it's going to make your playing feel or sound choppy or hectic, or it's going to just lack that ease. And this is why I'm always looking for the earliest possible time to start my stretching for the next note. This also means that every time I play, I'm always thinking a little bit ahead, because you can't stretch for the next note if you don't know what the next note is going to be. So this is where doing the first step is going to really help you. And before moving on, just let me mention quickly that I couldn't do this channel without my Patreon supporters. And if you have an extra few bucks in your pocket, please consider supporting my work on Patreon so I can keep making the best videos I can. Okay, on step 5, I need you to forget everything you learned about chord shapes in your whole life, and I need you to be willing to adapt to the situation that arises. Now, what do I mean? Let's say you want to play this C chord and you want to switch to E minor. Now, if you want to connect them smoothly, this is the worst fingering you could choose, right? This is a big jump with a lot of finger replacement. So you need to ask yourself if there is a better way, an easier, a smoother way to connect these two chords, maybe with a different fingering. So this is where you need to realize that chords are not fingerings, and fingerings are not music, right? So you can play any chords with any different fingerings depending on the situation that arises. So, I don't know, let's go and leave the second finger down and put the first finger down there. See? It's gonna allow me to utilize the common finger and the common string, which we were talking about earlier. But also we could do a little shifting with the third finger, utilizing the common string, and it's going to create that ringing effect. And this also means that in different pieces, different music you play, you're going to play the same chords with many different fingerings. Maybe you play with this fingering in this song, maybe you play with another fingering on the other song. It doesn't matter, because you're not playing chords, you're not playing fingerings, you're playing music. And music requires unique solutions depending on the situation. I have one last tip for you, but before that, let me mention just real quick that I made a booklet of my favorite 11 exercises based on my most popular video here on YouTube. And I also create lots of educational content on my channel, and they keep coming, so be sure to subscribe. The final tip is just a thought. It's really not part of my finger preparation method, but it may be helpful for you. And it's about adding some coloring notes wherever it's appropriate. And obviously, if you play classical music, you don't want to add random notes just because the material is too difficult for you. But in some cases, it can be really helpful to think about extra notes you can add. So let's say you want to go again from here to here. Maybe this is too difficult for you, but the second you add a really harsh pull out there. Oh my god, that sounded horrible. So when I add an extra open E, it gives me a little extra time to get to the next note. And a little extra ringing. You hear? just a thought. Now, this is all fun and great, but now you need to work a lot on your dexterity in order to make this concept work. So watch this video next to learn everything I know about stretching, to learn my favorite stretching exercises, and to see how to avoid getting injured while you're doing stretching exercises. All right, bye.